Hello. I misplaced my sunglasses, but it's getting near the end of the day now. Anyway, and the light is getting dull. We're on the slope here, up behind the vegetable garden. And these trees, I was wanting to keep them here for a windbreak. But I was up walking around here one day, and I noticed they are not very healthy. A few leaves right up on top. There's a old one there. I think there's a dead one here. Yes, there's a dead one right here. So this small one here is dead. About a month ago we had a little bit of wind. You see this one is blowing over. It's not all the way down because it got caught in the trees up there. This is a white spruce. It may be solid all the way through. It might not. I won't know until I cut it down. And I have an idea to use that with besides firewood. There's fairly healthy fir right there. The spruce next to it is bad. The one over by the tripod, that's getting really bad. But the firs don't look too bad. I have a tree though, I have seed for a tree that I'm going to plant all the way along here once I remove these. You see, evergreens, the conifers, once they get old, yes, they're a carbon store, but they're not a carbon sink. And something like this is more of a carbon source. So I'll cut it down, use it for firewood, and maybe a couple other things while they're still solid. The deciduous broadleaf trees now on the other hand, like this birch, you see the bark is starting to peel. It's really bad back on this side. They're not too healthy, but they put out leaves every year, and of course drop their leaves, even though they're old and sickly and probably not growing anything worth talking about. They continually build up your forced floor layer, and if you want, it's a source of leaves that you can use for leaf mold, or mix a little bit in with your regular compost. These now are healthy young trees, and they're pine. I really like pine, and they're most beautiful when they're growing fast. A definite carbon sink and a tree that will stay here. There's another pine right there, and a couple of young spruce. You know, to live in harmony with nature, it takes some trial. And you learn as you go what the animals will do in your area, and of course what your plants need. I had an Osage orange planted here. Of course, they're a 1.5 feet high, about, I guess. That's what's left. And you can see what did it. Snowshoe hare. I had them planted along here. I said in an earlier video that I was going to show you where I had them planted. and I never got around to it while they were growing. Here they're more hidden. He's not eat down so far, but he is chopped at the top. And that one over there hasn't been touched yet. I had left these birch branches laying around because I thought, well, the hares would chew on that and not bother with my trees. But everyone that was out in the open, they bothered with. There's one in right there that hasn't been touched. So that's 3. I would just check now. Let's see, we're beside the road, going out back. And what I did, I planted a row of them along here. And then there's a mulberry tree there. And a mulberry tree there. And then another row of them down right here. And then I done the same thing on this side. So you would come up through these 2 rows of Osage orange trees, and the openings to the 2 garden rooms, the mulberries over there, and some plum trees down that way. I just counted, there's 12 that have been eat down. I have, I think, 9 trees down below. It might be only 6. So if they don't come back from the roots, now they might come back from the roots, you see. That we'll find out in the spring. But here's the little stub. And you see, if that regrows from the roots, then the root system has already started. Around all the mulberries, I put these twigs around, and they haven't really been touched. See, you can't really see it. I put my hand behind. So here's the mulberry tree, the Russian mulberry this is. So I have 2 options. I can put a little fenced in area down below and grow them in pots until they're big enough that the hares won't destroy them. Or I can bring them up and put a protection around each one. The reason I wanted to plant them up here when they're still small is because I only have to dig a small hole. I mean, there's roots and rocks and everything. To dig a big hole for a bigger tree is going to be a lot of work. So right now I'm leaning toward putting a good protection around each one when I plant it. This is a maturing apricot with the sticks around it, and it hasn't been touched. It should come back well next year. What I'm going to do, instead of clipping off twigs like I did there that I showed you and just sticking them in the ground with my hand, I'm going to go and I'm going to cut off big enough pieces whereby I can make a straight stake that I could actually hammer down into the ground so it's nice and tight, and make a bunch that I can have at least 8 stakes around each tree. It's December the 26th, and we have weather for March or September, whichever way you want to look at it. The ground should be covered in snow right now, not much, about 6 inches or a foot, I suppose. But if I want to, I can get out and mow grass. Don't know if I've ever showed you the back of the hen house. I'll get some ends in here in the spring. Let's check and see if we've got rat issues here, eh? You see, if they're going in and out, that pile of sawdust wouldn't be there. No. Nobody's been in here. Oh, that's a thing of rat poison. Maybe there was only one left and it is now left the garden. Oh, these cups is Russian mulberry. Doesn't seem like they have gone in here, so I guess they're not going to touch that. So there it is, you see it, it's 7. 4, 5, 6, 7 cups. That's 7 trees right there. So when I had 12 I needed to replace, so that's another 5 I need. I'm going to have to order another packet of seed. Back out here, another thing about my introduction to why I choose the trees I did. They're coming down. I've notified the utility company and they're supposed to come and take them down. If they don't do it, and it's come spring, I have the equipment to take these down safely. And I'll strap it on and I'll have that onto the winch up through that maple tree. And I cut it so far and then I'll pull it and cut it so far and pull it. So they would just fall in this way. So that's not a problem. It's just that they're up in the wires and technically, if anything should go wrong, someone's going to be screaming and hollering. And it won't be me. Now, but I don't want this wide open. So what I have to do, I either have to put the trees right out by the edge of the ditch, which is, I don't think it's a good idea. You'll have your branches going out there and then they'll be in the line of sight for when I'm backing out of the driveway. I won't be able to see what's coming down the road. I have to remove the alders and that's in the ditch already. However, if I get a tree that's a shrub really, that will grow up close to the bottom wire up here, then I can plant them in further. That is the introduction. Now you have an idea of where all the trees that I need to plant are supposed to go. I have to remove some spruce to get the other trees planted there, and of course get my trees growing. In the following videos I will introduce each type of tree that I've chosen and give you the qualities and why I've chosen that tree. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one.